The movie opens with Heidi, an orphan girl, is being taken to her Aunt Diet's house after being kept indoors for 5 years, to be with her grandfather in the Swiss Alps. Because Diet is unable to bring Heidi along with her when she moves to Frankfurt for work, she disregards the neighbors' cautions that Grandpa may be antisocial and perhaps hazardous. Heidi removes her boots and gown on her way up the mountain in favor of the flexibility of her underdress. When Grandpa Alpohai sees them arrive, he becomes enraged and kicks them out, stating he doesn't want to look after the girl. Diet acts as though she is leaving with the kid, but in reality, she brings Heidi behind the home and instructs her to remain there while she flees. When Alpohai sees this, he yells at Diet, but Heidi responds that she doesn't want him either. Alpohai refuses to welcome the girl into his life, so he goes home and locks the door, leaving Heidi to choose to spend the night with the goats in the barn. Heidi is brought to church by Alpohai the next morning after giving her some goat milk for breakfast. Heidi is given a thorough examination by the priest, who pronounces her to be in good condition. The priest says he will be leaving because Grandpa won't budge from his belief that Alpohai has a responsibility to care for his own blood. He'll be in Mayenfeld in 3 days to see if any of the farmers there can utilize Heidi. Heidi asks Alpohai if she should sleep in the barn again when they get back home, and Alpohai responds that she is free to sleep anywhere. Heidi looks for a different location because Alpohai has only one bed and one chair. She discovers a staircase that she ascends to an attic filled with hay. Heidi informs Alpohai that she would prefer not to leave after choosing that will be her bedroom, but she receives no response. The next day, goatherd Peter arrives to collect Alpohai's goats, giving Grandpa the opportunity to ask him to take Heidi with him. Maybe even show her how things are done in the mountains for the day. Heidi is pleased to accompany Peter and spend the day chasing the goats after Alpohai provides her some cheese and sausage for lunch, enjoying this much more than spending the entire day indoors, as her aunt used to force her to do. Peter steals a bite of Heidi's food and accuses the goats of doing it when she sees, while Heidi is having fun. Peter smacks the 2 fighting goats with a stick in an attempt to break them up. Heidi strongly disagrees with this, and she extends an offer. If he never hits a goat again, she will give him half of everything. Her food to him daily. Peter accepts with pleasure, but begs her not to inform Alpohai because the community claims he committed murder in the past. Alpohai correctly deduces that Heidi has heard the rumors when she returns home and behaves strangely around her grandfather, saying she will sleep in the barn. He asks Heidi if she has greater faith in rumors or in her own senses. Heidi makes her own decision and embraces Alpohai before retiring to the attic to sleep. Alpohai spends the following day doing some carpentry to demonstrate to his granddaughter how much her love has moved him, while Heidi keeps enjoying herself and establishing a connection with Peter. Heidi is taken aback when she returns home to find a second chair at the table and the wonderful news that Alpohai will let her remain permanently. Heidi spends weeks enjoying Peter's company every day, and she even trims her hair to make herself feel more at ease. Peter informs her one day that he will be attending school and that he won't be visiting for a few months, but that they will see each other again in the spring, but at some point she should stop by his place to see him. The neighbors are always telling Alpohai that a child needs an education and friends, and Heidi also wants to attend school. However, Alpohai insists that Heidi won't be able to attend school because she won't be able to descend the mountain in the winter. When it starts snowing, things become dull. Heidi is still not feeling well after Alpohai carves her a little bird, so he moves on to creating a sleigh. The 2 of them enjoy killing the mountain together before Alpohai takes Heidi to Peter's for a play date. This really works well. Although Peter's father is no longer alive, Heidi has the opportunity to meet his mother and grandmother. All of the grandmother's teeth are gone, making her blind and limiting her ability to eat. This is problematic because they are forced to eat stale bread. Peter, who doesn't need reading skills to herd goats, is struggling in school and doesn't see the point of learning them. He is not permitted to quit by his mother. Heidi informs Alpohai that she has come to understand how fortunate she is to have him when he comes to pick her up. Heidi lives a happy, tranquil life with her grandpa for many years. Diet returns one day with the news that she has discovered a wonderful location for Heidi with her employers, where she will be able to attend school and socialize. But Alpohai won't let Heidi go and brings up how Diet now seems to be worried about her niece out of nowhere. Diet says she was simply forced to abandon Heidi out of shame. Diet feigns to depart after she argues with Alpohai and fails to persuade him, but in reality, she travels deeper into the mountains in search of Heidi among the goats. Diet repeats the offer, and Heidi responds that she wants to remain. Diet then tells her that Alpohai also wants her to leave because he wants what's best for her. Heidi lets Diet take her away while Peter watches in amazement. Grandpa races all the way to town after seeing Heidi is missing when he brings the goats back to Alpohai and immediately realizing what has transpired. However, by the time he arrives, it is too late. Diet has already departed with Heidi, and the neighbors tease Alpohai about it. Heidi is brought to the Seismansion in Frankfurt, where she meets the butler Sebastian, the maid Tinette, and, most importantly, the governess Rottenmeier. Diet reminds this Rottenmeier woman that this is how Heidi appears to be, a wild youngster with no etiquette, and she is not pleased to see her. They wanted a pure youngster of this age to be a pal to Clara, the house's child. Heidi encounters Clara, who is wheelchair-bound and unable to walk, while Diet insists on her portion of the agreement and departs. The girls immediately connected, and when Heidi unintentionally pushed Clara's chair against the table, Clara lied to protect her, telling Rottenmeier that she was to blame. In order for Heidi to be accepted as Clara's companion, she has a lot to learn. They teach her table etiquette, give her decent clothing and shoes, wash her, and prohibit her from yelling or running about the home. In addition to attending lessons with Clara, Heidi surprises everyone by admitting that she is illiterate. Rottenmeier wants to get rid of her, but she can't do that until Clara's father returns from his trip, so in the interim, the Heidi needs to learn to read from the instructor while still following Clara's instruction. Although Heidi readily adjusts to the household rules, she doesn't undergo a complete transformation and maintains the majority of her eccentricities. She continues to favor nature over a home and fantasizes about the mountains at night, and she sneaks bread rolls into her pockets whenever she can. Clara and her become very close, and this friendship motivates Clara to tell her what happened to her. Clara was so ill after her mother's passing that she lost her ability to walk. Heidi felt confined and lonely in this home before her arrival since her father was constantly traveling for work. Heidi begs Sebastian to open a window for her one day when she refuses to sleep during the day. Unfortunately, she is unable to view the mountains, so Sebastian tells her that she would need to travel in order to see them from this vantage point, to the top of the skyscraper. Because Clara is never permitted outside, Heidi then takes her out of the house and gives her a tour of the city. Heidi climbs as far as she can, only to be let down when not even Clara stays by the door when they locate the city tower. The mountains are visible from up here. Clara is a bit frightened to be alone, but when she sees a man selling kittens, she feels better and chooses to purchase them all. When Rottenmeier returns home and discovers the girls are missing, she becomes alarmed and dispatches all the workers to look for them. Sebastian discovers them, and fortunately, Clara covers the kittens with the blanket they came with before he can see them. Rottenmeier attempts to reprimand them when they get back home, but her allergies cause her to sneeze incessantly. Rottenmeier is so frightened by the cat's unexpected leap from Clara's lap that she runs up onto the furniture, which makes everyone chuckle. As retribution, Heidi is later made to stand in the corner of the dining room, facing the wall, for the duration of the meal, during which she is not permitted to eat. Rottenmeier promises that the next time she will send her to the basement with the rats. Heidi won't accept this, so she gathers all the bread rolls she has saved for Peter's grandma after supper and attempts to leave. Reminding her that she is fortunate to be getting nice attire and a good education, Rottenmeier interrupts her. However, seeing a sad and weeping Clara run to her room is what really upsets Heidi. Heidi's dreams have gotten worse since that day, and Clara refuses to leave her room. Tanette states that she is ill and accuses Heidi of causing it. Heidi goes to see Clara after her physician tells her that she is improving, but she is now in a much worse state. She reassures Clara that her desire to leave is not due to any hatred. Although Clara comprehends, she still doesn't want Heidi to leave since Heidi is all she has. Clara resumes attending classes and starts leaving her room again, now that Heidi is back by her side, but Heidi is having trouble reading. After a few days, Mr. Seisman, Clara's father, returns home and brings with him grandmother Seisman, much to Rottenmeier's chagrin. Both Seismans are also pleased to at last meet Heidi, and Clara is thrilled to see her family once more. In particular, Mr. Seisman is delighted with how much better Clara appears to be as a result of his suggestion of getting her a companion, but Rottenmeier is attempting to convincing him that Heidi is still crazy and won't be able to learn to read will change his mind. But rather than believe Rottenmeier's word, grandmother Seisman would rather see it for herself. Later in the evening, grandmother Seisman reads Heidi a bedtime story, but she leaves it unfinished since she wants Heidi to do it. Heidi admits that she is unable to read because Peter told her it was pointless, but grandmother Seisman reminds her that she should not believe everything she hears. Heidi agrees to work harder and practice more because she enjoys stories and is curious to see how this one ends. The following day, grandmother Seisman tells her son that Heidi is fantastic and that, with the right support, she can learn to read, but she can tell the youngster that this house is against all that she stands for, therefore she is unhappy. Heidi is kept by Mr. Seisman because she brings Clara joy, but grandmother Seisman reminds him that he wants her to stay because she makes her. Make him feel less bad about constantly leaving Clara by herself. The situation becomes worse when weird sounds start reverberating about the house every night, and on occasion, Sebastian even discovers the front door unlocked. Mr. Seisman doesn't think the house might be haunted, but everyone else in the household, including Rottenmeier, does. Heidi reads more and more of the novel that her grandmother Seisman left her every day until she is able to finish the entire tale to everyone. Mr. Seisman concludes that Heidi is competent enough to live in the home permanently since the teacher claims full responsibility. Although Clara is overjoyed by this, Heidi sobs every night before going to bed because she is so sad. When Mr. Seisman is playing chess with the doctor one evening, after grandmother Seisman has returned to her own home, they immediately hear the noises that the servants had cautioned them about. Assuming it might be robbers, the guys grab their guns, but it turns out that Heidi is simply sleepwalking. Before returning to her room and lying down at the end of the day, she descends every evening, unlocks the door, and gazes out into the distance. The bed as she would treat a goat. Mr. Seisman searches the closet for a blanket when the doctor inspects on her and discovers she is shivering, but instead he discovers a fresh stack of them. The bread rolls Heidi has been saving. Heidi then awakens, and she tells the doctor that her chest hurts when he asks her if she is experiencing pain. The doctor then speaks with Mr. Seisman in private to explain that Heidi is suffering from homesickness and is very anxious. Since she lives there, she should be returned home. Initially, Mr. Seisman refuses, but he then spends the night reflecting on his wife's fate. The following morning, when Clara inquires about the ghost, her father tells her that Heidi was sleepwalking because she's in pain, and as a result, they will be sending her back home. This revelation makes Clara really furious, and she storms out of the room after yelling at Heidi at him. Heidi is pleased to learn that she will be returning to Alpohai, but she is still concerned about Clara and makes an effort to speak with her, but Clara refuses to open the door. When it is time for Heidi to depart, the servants make a basket full of bread rolls and other treats that she may bring with her to the mountains. Heidi gives Mr. Seisman her wooden bird to give to Clara and makes him promise that she will come to see her sometime. Rottenmeier predicts that they will at last be at peace when Heidi leaves, but karma soon shows her that there is still a cat in the home. Tinette decides to call the kitten Heidi as Rottenmeier gets frightened. Heidi immediately takes off her boots and rejoins Peter upon her return to the city. She stops by his house to say hi and deliver the food, then she runs up the mountain and throws away her expensive attire. At long last, she is reunited with her cherished grandpa. Heidi easily resumes her old routine of tending to the goats with Peter and running through the mountains, but there are still a few differences. Now that she is permitted to attend school, she and Alpohai relocate with the goats to a home in the city throughout the winter. Unlike Clara's, her new teacher is much more strict, and occasionally, there are physical consequences for bad behavior. Although her classmates make fun of her for saying that she wants to be a writer when she grows up, at least she excels in her class. Her education is different from Peter's, who continues to struggle with reading even when Heidi attempts to support him. Heidi sends Clara letters about all the fascinating events that occur, expressing how much she misses her and inviting her to come see her. When the letter arrives, grandmother Seisman takes Clara up the mountain with a group of servants because Clara feels awful about not saying goodbye. Grandmother Seisman has a beverage with Alpohai and asks him if Clara might stay for a few days, offering to pay a fee, while the girls reunite with glee. Clara is a guest, Alpohai says, as he happily accepts but rejects the cash. Clara now starts to only wear her underdress and eat without fuss as Heidi begins to educate her companion about life in the mountains. Also gets to see a shooting star, sleep on hay, and pet the goats. Peter is really envious of the fact that the girls are spending all of their time together. Because Clara is unable to go there in her condition, he declines Heidi's invitation to join their activities and instead goes hiking by himself. Wheelchair, and Heidi wants to stick with her. Peter finds the wheelchair outside the house one morning before the girls wake up. He throws the chair off a cliff in a fit of envy before fleeing with the goats. When the family realizes the chair is gone, Alpohai immediately knows who did it, so he carries Clara on his back and heads out with them. They adhere to the standard route used by goat herders, Heidi. Alpohai is now able to reprimand Peter for his conduct and assign him to keep an eye on the girls for the remainder of the day, while Clara is able to take in the remainder of the mountains. The charming little butterfly that lands on Clara's foot, the flowers, and the stunning scenery are all things she adores. Clara surprises everyone by abruptly rising up and attempting to capture the butterfly as it flees. However, she is still having trouble walking, so she works with Heidi and Peter, who has changed, to practice over the next several days. Seeing the miracle, he changed his opinion of her. Later, when grandmother Seisman arrives to collect Clara, her son accompanies her and continues to scream angrily because he doesn't like the thought of it, since he had brought his sad, ill daughter here. However, when Clara walks up to them on her own 2 feet, he quickly changes his mind. After shedding tears and hugging, grandmother Seisman gives Heidi a notebook and pen as a reminder to ignore her and begin writing tales. Because everyone should do what makes them happy, my classmate's nasty remarks. Heidi gives Clara a big hug goodbye before resuming her everyday life with Peter, but she now brings her notebook along with her so she can write a little bit every day. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.